So, welcome to our 7 o'clock session. It is 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 13th of April. I hope you're in the right place. We're here to talk about how the world sees Rotary or public image. Our tech person is not Karen Sendro. It is Paul Schubert from the Rotary Club of Rancho Cordova. And our presenter tonight is Marsha Vacca from the Rotary Club of East Sacramento. So Marsha, Paul Schubert is going to control your slides and I get to go on mute. So take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Jo, so much. So good to be with you. And Paul, just so you know, and everybody else on the call tonight on the meeting, I'm a little OCD about letting anyone else control my slides. So Paul, you and I will work this out. Everything's going to be perfect. I'm not going to stress about it.
just say next. Just say next and I click it too.
I will, my friend. Thank you so much.
Quick, Mary Jo, can you go ahead and hit record? Because since you're host, you should have that ability.
And it's showing recording on my end, but
I did, Paul.
It's in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, too. Upper left-hand corner.
All right. So we've got 45 minutes tonight. I've got a lot of ground to cover with you. And before I even move to my first slide, I want to ask all of you, if you would, put yourself on mute. We'll let you know when to unmute. And if you do end up with any issues where you're freezing and such, please be aware to not only put yourself on mute, but stop your video. And also the third point is have yourself in speaker view, not gallery view. Those are all tips and hints if you end up with any issues with your Zoom freezing on you tonight or acting funky and weird, okay? So good stuff. All right, Paul, our first slide. So what we're going to do, and the reason we do ask everybody to put yourself on mute, is we do want to be able to hear each other. We don't want a lot of background noise and such to it. So we'll let you know when to unmute, particularly during our Q&A time. Paul, I'm on my third slide. So if you also have been on Zoom this year, which I'm sure you have been, we're going to take questions through our chat. So if you would know where the chat button is, hopefully by now this time you know how to use chat. You also have the little hand that you can raise when you do have a question. I'm going to move through things and try to get through as much material as I can so I can leave enough time at the end for Q&A. So let's try to get through all the material. Hold your questions if you can until we get towards the end. And then we'll open it up and have some dialogue back and forth with each other, because I do want you involved with this. Next, we're going to take a look at this whole issue of brand and what does it imply? What does it mean when we talk public image? We're going to talk about what is a brand, why do we worry about our brand, and how to use a brand. So I'm not suggesting tonight that any of you don't already know a lot about this, but I want to make sure that we're going to come together, be on the same page as we look at this whole concept of branding and how it impacts public image. So tonight, here's what I'm going to cover, okay? I'm going to talk about a brand and why it's important to those of us who are Rotarians and what we're trying to do in our communities and how a brand impacts our public image. So that's one thing I'm going to try to accomplish tonight with you. Second thing, I'm going to share resources with you that are available through Rotary International, and make sure you know how to find those things, as well as I will be happy to send you PDFs and other materials that Rotary International has developed. So just let me know if you need me to send those directly to you versus you digging them out. I don't have any problem doing that. And lastly, we're really going to talk about why. Why do we concern ourselves with brand? And how does it impact our public image? So that's what I promised to do in about 45 minutes with you tonight. So let's take a look. And before we do move to our next slide, and you can unmute yourself for this, what is a brand? What is a brand in your mind? How would you define a brand? When you think about an organization, a company, a business, you know, what's a brand? Anybody got anything you want to share?
An image that comes to mind when you think of a product.
The image, okay, sure. Like McDonald's or Nike with the swoosh, you know, or Apple, right? Those are all images that come to mind. Okay, anybody else?
Reputation.
Say what again? I didn't hear that.
Reputation.
Reputation. Okay, so sort of the understanding that you have of what that organization or business is all about, whether it's good or bad or in
Yeah,
between.
because the symbol that is usually associated with a brand is could also represent the reputation that they have in the public eye.
Right. Good. Anybody else? What do you think of when you think of a brand and what it is or isn't? Let me ask you this, and you can unmute for this too. What are some brands that come to mind for you when you think about an organization's brand or image or reputation or you know, position within the community or world? What are some of the brands you think of?
Well, we
Anybody
got
at all?
Microsoft.
Microsoft, yep. Google. Anybody know, recognize Google anywhere in the world that you go?
Nike.
Nike's one.
Again, McDonald's, probably one of the most.
Yeah, McDonald's. Yeah, Facebook, right? In fact, when I traveled to England one year, I made it a point of stopping into a McDonald's to try their French fries and a vanilla shake to see if it tasted the same as it did here in the US, and they were right spot on. They hold on to their branding and their image very well. TikTok, yep, Instagram, yep. Lexus, any of you know Lexus? BMW, all those are brands. So let's take a look. Go ahead, Paul, next slide. Here's a definition of a brand that I thought was pretty representative and I think relates to what we're trying to do as Rotarians. It's the way that a company, an organization, or an individual is perceived. And that is a key word, perceived by those who experience it. So it's more than a simple name or a term or a design or a logo or a symbol. It's a recognizable feeling that a product or a business evokes. So while there's lots of ways to define brand, and you'll find lots of different definitions if you look it up and Google it, we want our brand of Rotary to be perceived by those who experience it, hopefully in the most positive way possible. And we want our brand to produce, you know, that feeling of commitment to our community, commitment to service, above self, commitment to thrive and excel and to meet local needs as well as international needs. All of that producing a very positive response. Yes, Ken, very much so. It's an emotional response that we go after when we are looking at our public image and our branding. So that's why there is such a connection between public image and brand. Next slide. So the bottom line with a brand is, why do we worry about a brand? Because it lives on. It is the thing that lives on. Who would not recognize the M, the arches for McDonald's? Anywhere that you are in the world, you recognize that wherever you might be. Disneyland, you recognize their entire brand, their image, every experience that they're trying that customer to have. You recognize that around the world, so that those brands, they live on in the mind of our customers, whether it be our members, current members, potential members, employees, volunteers, investors, and in the media. And they are perceptions, and they can be our most valuable asset, is the way in which our communities do view us, particularly those that we serve, as well as when we're trying to communicate to our local communities who we are and what we're about in the world. And it actually attracts customers, right? And when you think about it, what are we trying to do within Rotary? We're actually trying to, excuse me, attract customers. Our customers are basically what? It's our existing members. We're trying to keep our existing members involved and committed and interested and excited about what Rotary is all about. We're trying to bring in new members and have them actually understand why Rotary is such a unique organization and one that they should participate in and think seriously about joining. Those are our primary customers, but then think about all the other service agencies out there that they come forth, they have needs, things that they would like help with, you know, boards of supervisors, city councils, you know, we've got lots of customers, and we need to be able to communicate our message to them very clearly and succinctly and consistently. Next slide. So that already gives you an idea as to why we use a brand. Because a consistent, recognizable brand will increase the chances of your customers, all those people out there in the world, choosing your product or your service. And we do, as Rotary clubs, we have a product and a service that we want people to engage with and pay attention to and come and be aware of. So for you and your club, a strong brand will increase your chances of being able to tell your Rotary story and to attract new members and to do more service. That's why we're taking a look at this. And if you think about it too, the brand, the whole point of a brand and a public image, we may think that we don't have competitors, really, right? Who wants to think about a service organization, a membership organization, worrying about competitors? But we do have competitors. And it's not just the Lions Club, Kiwanis Club, 2030 clubs, Seroptimus clubs, that kind of thing. Just think about the multitude of nonprofit agencies that are out in our communities that are all striving for attention, all striving for funds, all striving for ways to meet their needs. And that's our competition. And I think that's good competition. I don't think competition is always a negative, but we need to be aware we do have to compete to get our message out and tell the community what it is that we're doing and what we've achieved. Next slide. So in 2011, Rotary undertook an initiative to really be about strengthening our image, our public image, and to help to really build the recognition that, as RI said, you know, all of our clubs, we deserve to be recognized for all the work and all the effort that we put into our local communities, as well as all of the international projects that we all work on as well. In 2014, Rotary came out not only with the new image guidelines, but they also came out with a restatement of Rotarian values and our organizing principles. And I'm going to show you where you can find some of that. If you've not taken a look at them recently, I think they're it's good to remind ourselves of what those values and principles are all about. So one of our goals during the 2021-2022 year is that we're supposed to, across the Rotary world internationally, be applying the new image and the new messaging to all of our materials for Rotary. whether it's our club logo or image, business cards and letterhead, newsletters, brochures, flyers, our signage, social media, which we've talked a little bit about tonight, when we develop t-shirts, mugs, or any other items that we want to brand, you know, as our club, we need to be mindful that we have to keep consistency with that branding. Excuse me. And so there's lots of support and lots of materials to help us do that. Next slide. To give you an idea, if, and I know this has been sort of confusing for some people that I've been speaking with, but Rotary International came up with two key visual elements, our master brand and the mark of excellence. Now, the mark of excellence is just the singular gold wheel, which those of us who have been part of Rotary for a while, we know, we recognize that. Our initial Rotary membership lapel pin was just that wheel, oftentimes with the Rotary blue color where it says Rotary International. Now the mark of excellence is the gold wheel with the words Rotary International in it. That is not to be used and be a standalone piece anymore. We need to use it with our master brand or with your club brand image that shows the word Rotary in front of the gold wheel. So we'll come back a lot more during the year talking about how we really take the master brand, apply it, and use it in a variety of ways over the year. More importantly for all of us, it's going to be our club images that we're looking at. Next slide. There's various options that Rotary International has provided templates for. This is just one example of a way in which to bring our club logo and image into consistency with the new standards. This is just one style. Another style is to say, put the words East Sacramento above the word Rotary and the word club under the word Rotary. And also to remove the words Rotary International inside of the gold wheel and just have the gold wheel. That's known as the simplified logo. There's even other options that clubs can look at. One of the things and discussions that came up recently in the last few weeks, and we got the final word from our zone leadership, there was discussion that the word club was being dropped by RI, and that is not the case. The word club is still an important identifier within the Rotary world, but they wanted to make sure that, say, if you had a club that had been known as the Evanston Freeway Rotary, and you hadn't really used the word club traditionally in your name, that you could still use, you know, that same naming and not have to add club in order to be consistent. But some people took that RI was doing away with the word club for whatever reason. They're not. I just want you to know that they're not. So for most of our clubs, I think in our district that I'm aware of anyway, we've always identified ourselves as the Rotary Club of X, Y, and Z, or the East Sacramento Rotary Club, or whatever. And so we would continue to use that, and all the templates still show that as well. The End Polio Now image that you see there is the new Polio Plus image that's being used and has been used. So that's, like I say, it's not that you haven't seen some of this before, but I just wanted to share that, you know, this is part of our effort for this year to bring everything into a consistent pattern of use in the way in which we look. Next slide. So what now? What do we really do when we talk about public image and branding? Well, during this year, as I've already indicated, we do want to ensure that we get our clubs and our district in line with using the new look and image for everything we do, for District 5180, for our websites, for our newsletters. We want to use the new colors that are available, and I'll show you exactly where to find all of that information. The new imagery, the new messaging. And I know that this is problematic for some clubs because we get very attached to what our traditions are. And Rotary is very sensitive to that. And at the same time, we want to bring that consistency and clarity to what we're providing to the community in our public image, and why. You know, why again are we upsetting the apple cart, is one way somebody put it to me. It's because we really want to use the strength of the Rotary brand and imagery to increase our visibility as individual clubs as well as a district. We want to increase our value and our connections, our impact, and our membership. And it truly does make a difference when all of our clubs are coming together, when all of the Rotary world comes together and has a consistency in the way in which we're presenting ourselves to our community and to the world. Next slide. So it really is all about your club. That's the whole point of all this. We want you to be able to share your Rotary Club story in your community and in our district and around the world. So it truly is all about how we can help support you and your club in bringing leaders within your community together to talk about what the issues, what the concerns are, what the needs are, exchanging ideas about what might take place to help solve some of those issues and needs. And then to be known as people of action, that we would then step up as clubs, either individually or collectively, to help solve and meet those needs and concerns. We want to be change agents, right? Around the communities and around the world. Next slide. So one of the most important resources you're going to find at Rotary.org, and hopefully all of you have signed up and you have your own login and membership information at the international website, Rotary.org. But this is one key PDF that I will point out to you. And if you need me to send this to you, I'm happy to make sure that you get it. It's the voice and visual identity guidelines that are being used throughout the Rotary world. The voice is all about our messaging, the way in which we communicate who we are, what we're about, what we're doing. So there's some guidelines and some good information there. The visual identity is everything we've just sort of been talking about. It's our logo, it's our images, and it's the way in which we're putting all that together to maintain some kind of consistency. Next slide. In this PDF, I wanted to also point out some key pages for you. Now, here's the good thing, folks. I'm going through this rather quickly tonight, but we're actually going to send you this PowerPoint. So, and I probably should have told you that back on slide 2, huh? We're actually going to send to you as attendees tonight this PowerPoint. So you have sort of these key pages, you've got the PDF, you know what to go look for on Rotary.org. And here's just some of the key pages to pay attention to. It's going to be about the master brand and how we're to use that master brand and the mark of excellence. And then obviously how it looks in terms of your club image and logo. There's Rotaract information, Interact information. There's correct and incorrect examples as to how to now use some of these images. The color palettes that any printer would need if they're going to do printing for you. The font styles, some of which are free. And most of us, I think, that I've seen are using the free ones, but Rotary actually has identified some paid font styles too that they, make as part of their graphic standards. Outdoor signage, what that can look like, and t-shirts, polo shirts, caps, all of that. You'll find all of that within that PDF. So like I say, if you need me to send you that PDF, I will definitely get it to you if you let me know. Next page. The other thing that's at Rotary.org in the brand center is some of these other guides. They're sort of quick and dirty kinds of things to look at. The logos at a glance PDF, I think, is extremely helpful. It just gives you a good visual representation of the various ways, the various templates that Rotary International has available. The People of Action guidelines, that's really all about that voice. It's about that messaging. And they also have some great information that we can build off from as it comes to what we're doing in our own local communities. And then there's a social media guide that I have reviewed that I also think is quite helpful. Next slide. So ultimately, one of the best resources for all things Rotary is Brand Center at Rotary.org. And it's got everything imaginable. In fact, if you are a volunteer in Rotary and you're not working anymore and you've got lots of time, you can go through multiple training PowerPoints and videos at Brand Center. Very well done, as everything that Rotary International does. And they've got some wonderful aids and helps there for all of us, to the point that I sort of sat back after watching some of them and went, phew, oh my gosh, so much data, so much information. Part of my effort this year with you, my last and next slide, thanks Paul so much for being so good with the slides. I really want to be a support to you. I really want to be a resource to you. So I want you to know how to reach out to me, how to contact me. I am always on social media. I'm always checking my emails. I live my life by text messaging, just so you know. And I want you to know that you can reach out to me at any time. Happy to answer questions, assist you in any way that I can. And with all of that, I'm going to stop. Yay, talking. And I'm going to ask if any of you have any questions, initial thoughts, reactions to some of this material that we've gone over tonight, anything else tonight that I can assist you with.
Hey, Marsha.
Yes.
I'm on the Brand Center, and I was looking for that PDF that has all those different sections in it. Can you point me in the direction of that PDF? Is that up there?
Yeah, the PDF can, if you're talking about the one that I showed you, that's the voice and visual PDF. Is that the one, Miguel, that you're talking about?
I think so.
Okay.
The 5.4 something.
Yeah.
PDF.
So Ken Fong dropped the PDF link or PDF name into the chat, and then here's that PDF title again. It's the 547A_EN19.pdf. And the EN just stands for English, just so you know. So you get the right language one. Unless you want one in German or Russian or Spanish.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
I have a question, and that is, when our club and another club merged and we had a new name, we had I guess you might call it a logo, and we took the Rotary wheel and put Placer Valley Sunrise, and we had the inside of the Rotary wheel with a sunrise, and someone has told me that I can't do that.
That is correct.
Okay, so I need to get rid of that logo completely.
Yeah. Basically, maybe not completely, but we do need to take a look at it and probably make adjustments to bring it a little bit more into a consistent look. The best thing, Mary Jo, that I can tell you that I can relate it to personally, I worked at Sutter Health back in the 80s, and we had a communication marketing research project done. And the individual came in, the company came in, and they literally at that time, I don't know if you remember, the Sutter image was sort of two half circles, just sort of half skewed, you know, from being a full circle, sort of half circle. Anyway, and this guy put up on this wall, and it literally filled an entire conference room wall, all the ways in which, as he put it, now these were his words, that we had taken and bastardized our image and logo for Sutter Health in those days out in the public. And he said, this is awful, don't do that. And my geriatric program, they had taken that 49er image and they had to put this old 49er image on top of the two half circles for Sutter. That was only one that he totally destroyed in his conversation with us and in the rebranding with a new image for Sutter. And, you know, that happened in the 80s to me. And through that experience, I learned a lot about why brand consistency is so incredibly important. And it's hard to give up of the things that we're sort of attached to, but having the rotary wheel with, you know, sunrise spooky things coming out of the rotary wheel is not,
Okay.
not consistent at all with the standards.
Well, I have it everywhere, so I guess I better start working on it. It's okay. I mean, nobody had said that. And in my opinion, if it was wrong, I don't have a problem. You know, I've had lots of critiques before. And, you know, I take constructive criticism. So when somebody needs to tell me, better get rid of it, I thought, B, I guess I better get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's on
And
my,
just, yeah. Just so everybody understands too, all of us who have been part of Rotary, and we have our little wheels as our primary pin that we got. We were first pinned with that when we came into Rotary. They're not totally doing away with that. We can continue to wear those, but as we move forward, we're going to be moving away from that. And most of us now, I think, have the Rotary pin that is the master signature that has the word Rotary in front of a gold circle. And that is the new Rotary pin that we should all strive to wear consistently. But like if your club has had a concrete bench in a park for the last 10 years, nobody's asking your club to go and put in a brand new concrete bench with the new image or the new colors. Not, you know, that they're not asking that. So just be aware of that. There's some give and take, of course, across the world on all of this. Has to be. Other questions?
well, it looks like you just covered everything. Certainly
Either that or I put everybody to sleep and everybody's bored to death.
No, it's great information. Anybody else? Anybody else with another question?
Actually, Marsha, this is Paul. I do have a quick question, and I am on the Brand Central. I was trying to find that PDF, the Voice and Visual Identity Guidelines.
Okay.
If I brought up my Google or the Brand Central, could you kind of walk me to or point, and I'm sure this would help everybody else, where it's at?
Yeah, you know, let me.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I was going to say and this is why I offered to send it to everybody, because some of this stuff can be hard to find. Go ahead and share your screen if you would.
Let me just go back to the.
And while he's looking, I will say that we are going to load all PowerPoints up on the district website and the recordings. It won't be immediate. It's not going to be tomorrow.
Oh,
shucks.
right here.
It's right there, Paul. Do you see it? Oh,
yeah.
Go back.
I clicked in the middle
okay,
one.
you click through. Okay, so you just scroll down, and it should be. You got to keep scrolling through
right
all this
here.
stuff.
Nope,
There it is. Yep, lower right.
Right there. Okay.
There it is. And then you can download it.
But that's great for everybody to see how that.
Yeah. And Paul, can you go back to the prior screen?
Sure.
Yeah. So this, Paul even scrolled down this page, right? And
Yeah,
this is why, yeah. Look at everything that's there. It's a massive amount of material, information, documents, and look off to the filters on the left. You know, how many different things, tools, resources, templates, guidelines that Rotary International has available to us. It's just sort of mind-boggling. And because it is mind-boggling, that is why I'm willing to do whatever I can to assist each of you, because this does, even for someone like me who works in this industry and has worked in this field, this is overwhelming even for me. So if you call or text me and tell me exactly what you're working on or what your question is, I'll be happy to do some of the legwork of trying to get you to the right place as quickly as possible. Your time is valuable, so I want you to stay focused on what's important for your clubs. Thanks, Paul, for sharing that. That's good.
Anyone else? Anybody else? Going once, going twice.
Did we do it in 45 minutes?
We did.
Yay!
There's 9 minutes left.
And we got time left, really? All right.
So you can go have a fresh glass of wine, and Marsha, you did a great job. Everybody knows how to contact her should you have questions. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Tomorrow night, I have the schedule right here. Tomorrow night, 5:30 is Serving Others Serves You. I believe that's Angela's feast. Is she still on our call? And then also that's at 5:30, and at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Change Lives and Make Friends Worldwide, talking about international service. So we hope we see you again soon. Have a great